are an umpire.
Yes, ma'am.
He said, you guys were cheating. That's when I got upset.
He just grabbed me like this, and his fist was coming at me.
You can put your hands on him.
But I did not throw a punch on him.
Okay, so today we're going to learn a little bit about junior baseball.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know a lot about it, but I do have one grandchild who plays that sport very well. Been to a couple of those games. I know how hot everybody gets. You, Mr. Green, according to what I read in your papers, are an umpire.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been doing that work for, I think, 15 years. Is that right?
Approximately 15 years.
Tell me about the league that you umpire for.
I work for an organization, and I'm pretty much an independent person, but they call me and let me know what games I have, so it's up to me so I can take as many games as I want. I usually average about 10 games on the weekend. I usually only do it on the weekend. It's kind of...
Do you get paid for it?
Yes, I do.
How much do you get paid for umpiring a game?
It depends on the age division. So normally if you do anywhere from 9 to 12, you'll get...
9 to 12 years are the players.
That's the player. That's the player that's playing. So you'll get $56. And if you do the older children, that goes from 13 up to, I think we do up to 17, you get $61 a game.
Okay, nice supplemental income and have some fun and you're outside.
Yeah, that's my supplemental income. I actually have a regular full-time job.
I assume you did.
Yeah.
And you have a team?
Correct. I manage the team. I've been managing high school baseball players for about 6 years now.
So you manage the 13 to 17-year-old?
Correct.
And what's the name of your team?
The Bruins?
This particular game that's at issue today took place on what date, sir?
October the 16th of last year.
Now, Mr. Borges, on October 16th of 2022, what I'm gathering from the papers is that one or so of your players was over the age of 17.
Correct.
That you knew was against the rules. How many players were over 17?
So there was a total of 2 players that were over.
2.
So they weren't over 17. They were 17 at the time.
They were beyond the age where they were supposed to be
Correct.
playing. So you knew that that was against the rules.
Correct.
Just curious, clear that you knew it. You're giving me honest answers. Why'd you do that?
Because there's a stipulation that it goes on the way that the sanctioning body goes by. If they're in the grade level that is of the current year, they can still play. There is a limit of 1 player. I had 2. That is why we were...
Okay. So what you're saying is you didn't know about the second rule?
I knew about the second rule. I misinterpreted it. I thought we were allowed up to 3 players. Turns out that for this particular sanctioning body, there was only 1 allowed.
At some point during that game, something happened, because this case involves an assault. It is your claim, Mr. Green, that the defendant assaulted you and injured you.
Yeah.
And it was about the players who were playing against the rules from his team.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start with you, sir. You're on the field, you're doing your business. Somebody advises you that there's an issue. Who tells you that there's an issue?
So I went up to the director and asked him myself. There was some chatter in the stands saying, hey, you have 2 players.
Okay, some chatter where?
From the stands. So some of my
From the
parents-
stands?
From the stands. So some of my parents asked me, hey, you might want to check that because the other team is saying that we're illegal players.
So there was already a kerfuffle because people who were watching the game, I assume that there were regulars watching this game. First of all, you have all the mothers, fathers, grandparents, siblings of all these players watching the game.
Correct.
And they just don't come out for one game. I know this from grandson Kobe. They come out for every game. And so I assume that everybody knows how old these players are because they've been following them. They all go to the same school. Okay. So there was chatter from the team that was opposing your Bruins that, hey, 2 of these players shouldn't be playing.
Correct.
They're too old. It's not fair. Had the game gotten underway yet?
It was in the bottom of the first, or the start of the first inning.
Okay, so you heard the kerfuffle that was starting in the stands. You figured the better part of valor was to go over and address the issue yourself with the director of the league?
Of the tournament director, correct.
Okay. How did you identify him there?
He's the one we check into at the beginning when we show up as a team. There's a booth where we check in.
So you went down to speak to the director. Mm-hmm. Did you hear any of this chatter?
Your Honor, the story that he's telling you is absolutely not true. How we found out, or they found out that the player was too old. The player actually played for the opposing team before, and the coach knew him. And I was standing there when the coach passed by him and spoke to him. And then the coach informed one of his parents that that kid that was a catcher was too old to be on the team, and they went and told the tournament director. He didn't go to the tournament director. He was on the field.
Okay, just a second. So your story, which actually is interesting and has more subtlety to it, so sounds more real. This older player used to play for the opposing team.
Yes, ma'am.
So the team members and that coach knew how old he was.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
They went over to the director to
The parent
complain.
went over to the director and told the director that he was using illegal player, that the player was too old. Then they checked the record to find out if it was true. They never went to the director. The director came on the field and stopped the game. He came to me and said, stop the game.
Okay, so the director came up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And said, stop the game.
Stop the game.
And you're standing at home plate?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
See that?
You got that. You're right. I was standing at home.
Why do you look so amazed?
Because I was surprised that you would know about
That I would know about home plate?
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's home plate. I was standing at home plate.
They're not talking football here. Baseball, I know.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, okay.
So everybody sort of was around you. You had the director, you had yourself. Were any of the players there?
Yes, ma'am. They were still on the field. Everybody was still on the field.
Any players up at home plate?
Yeah, the player, the catcher, the one that was too old, and the batter. So he waited until the game started, because if he said anything before the game started, then they would just take the players out. So he was waiting for the players to play. So
That they would have to forfeit the game. That they would have to forfeit the game.
There you go.
Got it. So now I'm getting the rules, because these rules I didn't know. So if the game hadn't started yet, and that one player was taken out before anything happened, then you would just take the player out and continue the game.
And continue.
But once the game starts with his illegal player, then their team had to forfeit the game.
Exactly. The other team
So the other team strategically, I assume, but the other team waited until the first ball was thrown or whatever, and then came out to complain or went to the director to complain that there was an illegal player.
Exactly.
And therefore the game had to be forfeited.
Exactly. So they lost the game.
Now it's got, so they lost the game before it started.
Right. They lost the game before it ended. So it was on a Sunday, and Sunday we call it elimination day. So if you lose on Sunday, you go home, and the other team that won go on to the next game. So obviously he didn't go to the next game because he was eliminated, but the other team did. So that's why the other team waited so they can go to the next game.
Now, Mr. Borges, I have to tell you, that sounds more reasonable to me.
And he's absolutely right.
Okay, good.
Other than the fact that I did go up to the tournament director myself, because we, at that point in time, they approved my roster, and I had an approved roster. So when I called the higher up of the tournament director, he said, if you guys leave the field, you forfeit the game, I will refund you the tournament fee. If you do not, and it gets out of hand, then you will not get a refund. So I talked to my parents, I talked to my players, I explained to them the situation, and that was it. And we walked off the field.
Well, that didn't happen just that way.
That's exactly
The event sounds much more plausible to me now that I know that you crafted your participation initially in a certain way, but that sounds right. Now I understand it. Okay, so now they're all out on the field.
So no, what happened next is that they actually left the field. He didn't say anything about the game, so they left.
So they left the field and his team left.
And all of his players left the field. So what I did is I returned to what we call it the director's table, but it's like an easy up setup. So I returned to the director's table where all the umpires usually hang out, because we do like 5 games a day. So in between games, we kind of go there and get our new scorecard, a new baseball, and everything that we need for our next game. So I was standing there just kind of talking with other umpires. My son Cam was there. He's an umpire also. And on his way out of the particular facility that we were in, the director's table is right there. Him and some of his parents, that's when they stopped by the director's table to ask the director about why they were disqualified, because they were saying that they knew that they were using illegal players. The director was saying, no, we didn't, because you never checked in with your roster. And so they started demanding a refund. And so we wasn't even involved in it. So they started demanding a refund. And so one of the moms.
How much money are we talking about?
I have no idea. You have to ask them.
How much money is the refund?
It's $8 per person. That's the refund that my parents were requesting. We weren't requesting a tournament fee because we had already squared that away with the tournament director.
You expected an $8 per person refund. Why?
Because the game didn't conclude, and we were the ones that stopped the game prior to this whole scenario.
Well, not actually. You didn't stop the game. Whatever. Aside from the $8 per person, what other fee is there?
There's a tournament fee.
Oh, give me the amount.
It was $895.
Go ahead, sir.
He was asking for his money back. He didn't get a refund back because he was disqualified for the tournament. He got upset and said, well, I'll show you disqualified. I'll show you disqualified. And then he was coming around the director. It's like table setup, 6-foot tables. And he was coming around the table in an angry manner. So all I did was step back. He said, Coach, calm down. Your children are out here. Why you act like this in front of your children? He didn't say a word. He just had this look in his eye and he just grabbed me like this and his fist was coming at me. And that's pretty much all I remember, because I could remember another fist coming over my shoulder, which I later found out that it was my son coming to my defense, because he just grabbed me. I mean, that's all I could say. He just pretty much grabbed me like this. And
could you stand up? Tell me your name, please.
Cameron Green?
Cameron, you were down with your father near the director's table.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what you saw. Your father took me up to a point, and I want you to start at the point where there was any contact between your father and the defendant.
Yes, as the defendant was charging after the tournament director, after verbally threatening him.
Was that person seated?
He was seated.
Yes, go ahead.
And as he got around a barricade of tables, me and my dad were there to stop him and calm him down.
Tell me exactly how you...
Literally just standing here. Obviously, you don't want to make contact with the person unneeded. So like literally just standing there, he had his hands up and said, hey, your kids are out here. And he just got like the midst of the deflection, because he was going to probably assault the tournament director, and instead he assaulted my dad instead.
Tell me how he did that.
So after my dad told him to calm down because the kids were out there, he then grabbed my dad by his chest protector and lifted him up. And once he had did that, then I had to defend my dad.
Well, how did you do that?
By punching him.
How did your father end up unconscious?
So once again, he had him, and so he would grab my dad by his chest protector and shoves his fist in his face to basically threaten him. So I assume after I hit him, he probably just threw him down.
So he threw your father down?
Correct.
Were you hospitalized, sir? Were you...
I went to the doctor the next day. We went home after it all happened, and then the next day I woke up, I had all these like really bad pains in my face and stuff. So I went to the doctor, and the next day I went to urgent care on the 17th.
Do you have any pictures of
Yes,
any
I do.
injuries?
I have the pictures and also the doctor's report.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
There's pictures of my injuries in the original doctor report when I first went to the doctor.
Pretty bad black eye area, is that
Yes,
sure?
ma'am.
Did you file a police report, sir?
The facility, the director, they filed a police report.
Do you
I
have a
spoke to the
copy of
police on
that?
the 18th.
Do you have a copy of that? Were you able to get a copy of the police report?
No, they gave it back to me.
Nothing. Okay. Was there a complaint filed by you with the police department, sir?
Yes, there was a complaint filed with me with the Riverside County Sheriff.
Were you ever contacted by the police?
I was.
Were you arrested?
No.
Did Mr. Green cause to be served on you an application for a protective order?
Correct.
And was there a hearing on that?
Yes, there was.
Did you testify?
Yes.
Did you have any witnesses?
No, I just had witness statements and the picture that I showed you.
Did you have any witnesses?
No.
What was the result of that hearing?
I was granted a restraining order for a year.
And was the story that you told to the court at that hearing consistent with what you've told me today?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. I actually have the
Just-
transcript from that court case.
I'd like to take a look at it. I'm going to ask you the same question, Mr. Borges. Was the testimony you gave me today consistent with what you told the court on that day?
Absolutely.
You did, in fact, put your hands on the plaintiff.
Correct.
I'm actually going to go in a little bit further. How many parents were with you at the time you came to the director's chair?
There was a few. There was about five,
What?
6 there that were standing next to me.
Did you see the parents of Mr. Borges' team with him?
Yes.
How many were there?
At least 5 or 6 parents, and they all had their kids with them as well.
Now, when Mr. Borges, when you said came around the table and put his hands on your father, where were the parents?
They're behind him, and due to the progressive heating of the argument, everybody on his side was being very aggressive. That's why when he charged after the tournament director, no one cared to stop him. And after I had defended my dad, I was then jumped by about 5 of the parents.
Okay, so he was the first one who went around the table.
Correct.
The parents and the other players followed after him.
They were aggressive, but they stayed put, and after I had defended him, then that's when they got involved.
Now, when you say you defended your father, what did you do?
As he had my dad grabbed by his chest protector, I then punched him.
Punched the defendant?
Yes.
And after you punched the defendant, what happened?
I was then jumped by about 5 of the parents. So I saw 3 running at me and 1 running at me full speed. So I engaged with the first guy that was coming at me. And right there, I got tangled up, and then I was thrown to the floor immediately, and then jumped by about 5 parents.
Who broke it up?
Actually, a bystanding coach ran in about like 6 seconds into the jumping and picked me up off the ground and separated me from the crowd. I almost had it though.
Then when I got up off the ground, I pulled one of the parents off of him. Because when I got up off the ground, I was
Off of your son?
Off of my son. I was looking for my hearing aids and glasses, and then when I picked him up, I noticed 3 guys fighting my son. So I pulled the parent off of him, and then somebody else came around and punched me again. I couldn't see who that person was.
I got it. You got punched because you put your hands on his father, and you're a big guy. How old are you, sir?
62.
How old are you?
38.
He's old enough to be your father. Further, from the judge who heard the application for an order of protection, it was a very limited hearing on what the judge based his opinion on to give the plaintiff a protective order for a year, which merely says that you may not assault, menace, threaten, or harass him. Is he allowed to be at a game where you're umpiring? He's not allowed to have his team at a game where you're umpiring.
No, he's not allowed to be around. He's not allowed to be within 100 feet of me. We didn't put down the team because it was more about him and not the team.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, sir, that if your conduct precipitated a course of events where other people were injured, your conduct, you're responsible. I'm going to let you tell me your version of the events. You're out there. Now I heard their version of the events of that day. You're out there with 5 or 6 parents, and you're demanding that while you forfeited the game fee, which was over $800, it was your position that your players were entitled to their $8 a person back, which is why you went with the parents over to the director to ask for the $8 per person back for your players. That's what you told me.
Now that you asked me what the sum was, it was $8 a person of what it cost to get in. That's not what we were arguing about. So
well, what were you arguing
my
about?
side of the story about? So as we were walking out, I was talking to the female tournament director. We had already got our situation squared away. There was a male tournament director who was sitting at his chair, and one of my parents approached him, and they were arguing back and forth. He made a comment, and he said, "You guys shouldn't even get a refund back for your tournament fee because you guys were cheating." That's when I got upset because I had already squared away with his boss and the female tournament director that was on site. Okay.
So what did you do when you got upset?
I told him, do you even know what's going on? I've already explained it. This whole situation has nothing to do with the team. She's asking for her $8 back because they just got here and they're not watching the game.
Oh, you mean their fee to get into the stadium?
Correct.
What were you involved with that for?
Exactly.
What were you involved with that for? They wanted their money back. How many games were going to be played that day?
It could have been, 3, 4, 5 games. But
Well, they could have sat and watched the rest of the 5 games.
yeah, they could have. At that point in time, the argument started with the tournament director. Mr. Green was coming over from the field, and he did see when we were arguing. He did get in front of me. He said, "Hey, man, relax. Your kid's around." My whole thing was the director was still talking back to me,
So what if he was talking back to you? The truth is he was saying the truth. That director was saying nothing that was untruthful. All this started because you put 2 illegal players on your team.
That they approved, Your Honor.
What?
They approved it. The sanctioning body approved my roster before I showed up.
I have to tell you something, sir. You've been doing this according to you for a long time. And you know all the rules. And you had 2 illegal players on your team. That's what happened. But you had no business going over there and getting them a refund for entrance to the park.
That's where you're wrong. I was not asking for a refund. The parents were.
So what were you involved for?
Because the director told them to come talk to me about it. Okay, and I go, listen, it's your job to de-escalate. As a director, it's your responsibility to de-escalate the situation.
So what? I don't understand why you put your hands on him.
I grabbed him by the chest protector to move him out of the way because my argument was with the tournament director.
What's
did
it
not involve Mr. Green at all.
You put your hands on him.
So at that point in time, that's when I got punched, and then I was pulled back by the parents.
Just a second. You got punched because you put your hands on his father aggressively, and you're a big guy, and you were aggressive. How old are you, sir?
62.
How old are you?
38.
He's old enough to be your father. How dare you put your hands on him? Okay. Anything else you want to tell me,
I
sir?
just want to say one other thing, Your Honor, that this is mainly about him and other parents that come out to youth sports and behave badly. I want to send a message to him and all the other parents out there. When you come to support your kid. We're human. We make mistakes. We're out there for the same reason they are. It's not about the money. We're out there because we love the game and we love the kid. Violence, there's no place in baseball for violence. And he has to know that, and all the other parents have to know that. When you come, you're supposed to be there to support your kid, not harass the umpires or get into it with the directors. If you know you cheated, take your lump and go home. But to us,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's like, yeah. And that's
Couldn't have
why,
said
that's the
it,
message.
and I won't say it better myself. He's right. Right?
Yep.
Did you lose any work, sir, as a result?
I missed a month of work and a month of umpiring.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested in your petition, $10,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was a little unfair.
I think the judge made the right decision.
I never punched anybody, which that's the reason we were here.
The judge thought right through the lies that he was trying to tell her.
Sanctioning body approved my roster, so that was on them.
From my understanding, he bypassed the director's table on Saturday. He didn't turn in his roster, so they didn't even know he had those players on his team.
I have no ill will against Mr. Green. Like I said, at the end of the day, I never punched him. I did touch his chest protector, but I never threw a punch.
Get the message out to the other parents that when you come to youth sporting events, you're not going to behave badly, and if you do, we're going to prosecute you to the limit of the law.
Plaintiff took the words right out of my mouth. A grand message that we usually have for people after the cases, and I almost liked it better coming from him, seeing firsthand how crazy some of these youth sports games have gotten. I usually see them secondhand on Twitter or clips on social media of outraged parents or siblings even of players absolutely losing their mind at these youth sports games. So he said it perfect, and all the parents should really listen up. It takes a certain type to really get so angry
that you get physical.
At someone like an umpire who's getting paid $60 a game. They're obviously not in it for the money. He has some heartfelt reason for wanting to be engaged.
Yeah, he had a son.
Lives,
son probably played.
Exactly, and they're not trying to make bad calls. They're trying to do the best they can, but everyone's got to keep their cool. It's baseball.
It's supposed to be a fun sport. When it was totaled, it was parked.
Yes, ma'am. And I had no idea what happened.
The guy in the blue BMW, like
Approximately what time?
I believe my braces appointment is like around 9:40.
In the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And when had you parked the car?
For my braces tightening, I was at the dentist.
Oh, you were at the dentist.
At the orthodontist, and I was getting my braces tightened. So I had just parked the car at the first meter that I seen available. And as I was getting they taking the wires out, they called me and said, "Hey, what kind of car do you drive?" I said, "An Audi." They said,
Okay, you came outside, and what did you see?
Big commotion. I seen a few cars were hit. I seen some people in tears. I seen my car. That's kind of all I cared about was my car. Someone had to catch me. I was kind of startled. I was like, how did this happen? I ended up seeing police coming towards me. They were like kind of already, I don't know if they were on the scene or they had just arrived when I got out there. And they were asking me questions of what happened. I had no idea what happened.
So you said I had no idea what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a police report?
They told me anything that involves a hit and run, anything that involves any type of collision is required of the parties.
The answer is you don't have a police report. Do you?
no.
Okay. So you don't know what happened
No, ma'am.
from the time of the incident?
No, ma'am.
The defendant's car was involved in this accident.
Correct.
Because it had to be an accident, it wasn't done on purpose. And that's why you're suing him.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't have collision on your car, it was all paid off.
It was all paid off, correct.
So I assume you kept your insurance down by not having collision.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. And now nobody wants to take responsibility, and you've got a parked car that's now totaled.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we're here.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were involved in this accident, Mr. Chicos?
Chicos, yes.
Okay. Where were you going?
Going to drop my girlfriend back off at home before I left for work.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Mazda 3.
Tell me what happened.
I looked over my right shoulder. I was getting ready to make a merge into the right-hand lane.
Okay,
and
so you're traveling in the left lane.
yes,
And how many lanes of traffic are there in your direction? So you were originally traveling in the faster lane on the left. For how long had you been traveling in the faster lane to the left?
maybe half a mile, quarter mile.
And then you were merging over to make a right turn?
No, just merging over to get in the right-hand lane.
What were you moving over to get into the right-hand lane for?
Because when it gets to Beverly and Alvarado, a lot of cars are waiting to make a left-hand turn, which is about maybe a quarter mile from where the accident happened. So just in preparation, I got over so I wouldn't be stuck behind those cars in the light.
Okay, so you make this run all the time?
Correct.
I assume. Okay, so you're traveling along, you're not making a right turn, but you want to get into the right lane to avoid further up where people get into a left lane.
There's no left lane.
Where the people are making a left turn and there's usually a backup, so you wanted to avoid that and get over.
Correct.
Had the traffic started to slow down already?
No, not yet.
Okay, so you put on your blinker.
Correct.
And then what happened?
I looked over my right-hand shoulder. Behind me, to the right, way back, was a white car. And the blue, I think it was a BMW, the blue BMW was behind me in the fast lane.
Was behind you in the fast lane?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I looked over my right-hand shoulder, turned on my blinker, proceeded to merge lane. And at that point, I'm like, okay, look forward again because there's no one next to me. So I'm looking forward, and out of nowhere, the guy in the blue BMW cuts off the white car and tries to speed past me to pass me up, where it involves like hitting me while I was merging, and then he goes into her parked car.
So the BMW hit her car?
Correct. My car never made contact with hers.
Well, whether you made contact or not, that doesn't mean you're necessarily not at fault, which is, I assume, why I have this screen up here. So let me reiterate what I think your position is. You were dropping off girlfriend, and you're in the left lane, wanting to go into the right lane to avoid something that may come up in the future, since you were familiar with this road. You put on your blinker. All you see in your rear view mirror, looking to your right, is a white car, and you have plenty of time in order to merge over.
Correct.
So you start to go over, and a blue BMW that's behind you moves over faster to that lane, to merge over faster into that lane, hits you. The BMW hits her car, not your car.
Correct.
That's your position. Is that what I'm going to see on the video?
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Yeah, he's right. It's the BMW's fault. Their BMW driver is lucky he wasn't arrested for vehicular homicide. That was just by the grace of God that man in the little blue, it looks like a Volkswagen, wasn't killed.
And later today,
Your daughter was tragically killed in an automobile accident. She had 3 children. Her 3 children are now with you. Correct. Did they come to live with you immediately after her death?
done to her vehicle.
He's right. It's the BMW's fault.
I talked to the BMW's insurance, and they said they weren't paying out because they said they weren't at fault for the accident and to go out.
Well, I'm telling you, you bring me the BMW, I'll give you your money. That's what it looks like to me. The BMW was clearly behind him. His car had already started to merge over and was halfway into the right lane when the BMW, watch it, see his car's moving over them. The BMW came from behind him. Let's do it again. Absolutely right. You bring me the right person and you get your decision. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see how we could have avoided this accident. Take a look at it very, very closely. Let's do it one more time. He starts to move over. He's over already. The BMW cut off the white car. Is that what you see, Sarah?
I'm just thinking that that person in the little blue car is the luckiest guy alive.
Right.
You see him standing outside his car?
No, I didn't.
You see him
Oh,
opening the
that
door?
one.
That
Oh,
man
oh, yeah.
almost gets absolutely obliterated
Oh,
by
my
that
God.
car.
You know, I didn't see
Sorry,
it.
little distraction, but that's what I was watching.
Just traveling much, much too fast. The blue BMW. Reckless. He almost got killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you will return with that BMW owner, but I have no objection to signing a document that you might want to show the BMW's insurance carrier. Did you also try to sue the BMW?
I didn't try to sue. I was going through my insurance, and they told me to contact his insurance. I called them, and I told them I had another witness, too. And they're like, we weren't aware there was another witness. We knew that there was a video, and that was the last I heard of them. And then next thing I heard was she was taking me to court.
Why did you choose him instead of the BMW?
Well, I went after both of them. I looked at the video multiple times, and it just looked like he was more so at fault. But I did go after the BMW's insurance, and the insurance told me that they weren't going to pay out because, one, he had limited insurance, and it wouldn't cover the damages as to how much my vehicle had. And second of all, they told me that they seen that Steven Psychos was at fault, and I had to go after him.
No, their BMW driver is lucky he wasn't arrested for vehicular homicide. That was just by the grace of God that man in the little blue, looks like a Volkswagen, wasn't killed. So you bring me the right person, I'm more than happy to give you a judgment. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. This case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I've been watching her since I was a little kid, so I knew she was coming out with the right decision.
Guess I got the right person, right?
It just came out of nowhere, the crash. I didn't even see him coming.
I see it as that both of their butts are at fault.
Time to go after that driver.
I guess I'll really try to go after the BMW's insurance much harder or take him to court.
If I were this plaintiff, I would have sued both of them. I don't know which one of you is at fault, so I'm going to sue both of you. I know one thing. My car was parked, and I was getting my braces fixed. So it wasn't me. There was no question that BMW was speeding, driving recklessly. There was no way that the defendant could have avoided this mishap because he was just speeding so recklessly.
I think you gave her a good lesson. She seemed like the type that would take that advice and move on it. And so I think she would be in her best interest to
come back. And I would love to see him speeding down a street where he almost killed somebody.
We'll give him a good lesson.
Yes.
Case number 3013, Toole versus Messenger. All parties, please step forward.
Cheryl Toole is suing her former daughter-in-law, Ariel Messenger, for benefit money raised for her grandchildren.
Ms. Toole, this is your former daughter-in-law.
They were never married.
Okay. They were together for how long? Because you identify her in your complaint as my ex-daughter-in-law. And how long has Miss Messenger been separated from your son?
Probably 5-6 years.
And in December of last year, you have a daughter. Your daughter was tragically killed in an automobile accident. She had 3 children. Her 3 children are now with you.
Correct.
Did they come to live with you immediately after her death? According to your complaint, the defendant was touched by this tragedy. You don't say that, but that's what it appears. And decided to hold a fundraiser for the 3 children. What kind of fundraiser did you decide to hold for the 3 children?
I did a spaghetti dinner.
Where?
At a bar that I work at.
Did the bar donate any part of
their space?
They donated their space?
Right. My boss allowed me to have it.
And tell me how it worked. People came for a spaghetti dinner. Dinner was so much, and anything over that dinner went to the fund for the children?
Correct. All of it went to the fund. They would come in if they wanted to purchase a meal. They would get a ticket. Then they would go and grab the meal. And we had bake sale, also had raffles and stuff like that.
So there was an entrance fee to get in?
Basically, yes.
Not basically. Was there an entrance fee to get in?
There was not. You paid for a spaghetti dinner.
And how much was that?
It was $15. You got it to go back.
Who provided the dinner is what I'm trying to do.
I had people donate the food.
And that was the only fundraiser you had?
Correct.
This is what the case is about. Case is about the fact that, put your hand down, that she says $1,800 was raised at that dinner. You don't seem to deny that $1,800 was raised for the benefit of the children. The plaintiff has custody of the children. She says you should turn that money over to her. And your position is that I'm waiting for Social Security numbers for the children so that I can open up accounts for the children.
Correct.
Okay, that's your position.
Correct.
Okay. How much planning did you have to do for this dinner?
We served it.
Who set it up?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so if you're not sure, she says she set it up. So the defendant set it up. Did you have any conversation with the defendant prior to the event, which I assume you attended?
Yes, I did attend it.
For the whole thing?
I had to leave at 9 because I had to take the children out of the bar.
Okay. What time did it start?
7 or 8.
So you were there for an hour?
No, we were there. We had went and got where we were serving it set up too.
Oh, okay. So you were there until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Mention to me as to why you think she has to give you that money.
Okay, first of all, the benefit, I had no idea until the day before the benefit. She did not ask me.
No, just a second.
Did not include me.
She doesn't have to.
Okay, but...
Okay, she doesn't have to ask you. She doesn't have to include you. It would be nice, but she doesn't have to ask you. She doesn't have to include you. Okay? And what was the date of this event, by the way?
The 9th.
The 9th of?
December.
And when was the accident with your daughter?
December 3rd.
So it was relatively quickly after that.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to get back to why you think that you have a position, a legal position, where she has to turn that money over to you.
Okay, I have interim custody of the children. There's expenses. My daughter's apartment had to be emptied. I had to put her stuff in storage. I'm not physically able to be moving their belongings into our house that we just got for the 3 children and myself. I not only had to empty the apartment, get it in storage.
So what you're telling me is that you had expenses.
Yes, I have.
That's not a reason that she's got to give you money she raised for the benefit of the children.
But the benefit stated there was a flyer put out for Brandy Hoteling to help her lay at rest and her 3 children. It never said about accounts. I have opened, when this happened and the kids come with me, I opened accounts for the kids. I went to my credit union to see if I could open accounts.
That's a good idea.
If I could open accounts that they couldn't touch, nobody could till they were 18. I couldn't because of them being minors. They had to go under my name, but they're in their own accounts. I have that on my phone that I can show you.
It's nice that you have accounts for them.
But I feel that if you're going to do a benefit, that's wonderful that you would do something like that. But do what you say you're going to do in the benefit.
That's what she says she wants to do. She said she needs the children's social security number so that she can open up an account. You can have accounts under Uniform Gift to Minors Act in every bank, in every financial institution that are in your name for the benefit of a child, which is what you can do. I know I have 13 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild, and I have accounts for all of them, okay? But I have a brother, and if my brother said, I want to open up accounts for your grandchildren, and I said to him, well, give me the money, because I have the accounts already. He'd say, no, I want to be in charge of those accounts. It's what I want. I got the money, but I want it for the benefit of the children. And what I'm telling you is she can open up the accounts for the benefit of the children just as well as you can. Just because you have expenses, Miss Toole, that's not what this benefit was for. In her mind, she ran the benefit. And you said you had nothing to do with it. She ran the benefit for the benefit of the children. And what she's supposed to do is open up accounts for the benefit of the children. Did you go to the bank and say to the bank, I want to open up accounts for the benefit of the children? And did the bank advise you that you needed any particular document?
Yes.
What document?
Some form of social security numbers, because again, I wanted to be the primary person to where she couldn't have access to it.
Okay. Where do you come from? What jurisdiction?
Toledo, Ohio.
And how did you get here today? By plane?
On plane, yes.
And there was certain expenses and fees that you would be receiving for traveling to do your case here.
Correct.
We're going to hold those fees. And I see that I'm not going to get any cooperation from Miss Toole, even though I've told her that she can give you the kid's social security number so that you can open up these accounts for the benefit of the children. That's her prerogative. But you can go to the bank and get savings bonds for the children, and you don't need their social security number.
Okay.
All you need are bonds in their name. What I'm telling you, Miss Toole, if she had their social security number, that money would be growing interest. So at a certain point, they'll be able to cash in these bonds and have a little spending money when they either go away to college or start a job or are looking for an apartment or something. I assume that you get some sort of benefit for the children.
No, I do not yet.
Okay. Was their mother a working person?
Yes, she was.
Well, if she's a working person, and then the children are entitled to Social Security benefits. Was she a working person all of her life?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, if she was a working person all of her life, she was entitled to Social Security. And if a person who was entitled to Social Security dies, children minor children are entitled to Social Security. Did anybody tell you that?
They did tell me that, but
Okay, so why
works of custody. They couldn't do it until that was established.
Well, no, they could do it.
That's what I was told.
Well,
and I went down there.
who are you arguing with over custody?
Nobody. The fathers want them to stay together because they've been through enough tragedy. And so I'm not arguing with them.
Are the fathers contributing to their support?
The one said he has been, but it's just sitting there. He said, do you know what's going on? I said, everything's at a standstill till June 7th.
Oh, so it's going to be resolved relatively quickly?
Yes.
Okay, good. What I said to you is if she had their Social Security number, she could put it in an account that may bear some interest for them. If she does bonds, they have to wait until they're 21 years old. It's a relatively short period of time.
I can do bonds, that's fine.
You
It wasn't weird.
can, I don't know if they're long enough.
Right.
What's your objection to giving her their Social Security number?
Because, for one thing, she's not financially stable. She has ran bills up on a family member.
Okay, so you would prefer that she buy a bond?
Yeah.
A 7-year bond?
But also, what about the help with the daughter? I mean, it's right there on the flyer.
You mean for your daughter who's deceased?
Yes.
She can't help her, Mrs. Tooley. She can't help her.
So that was false on
No,
the
she
flyer?
can't help. She can't help her.
Right.
She can't help her.
Right.
And so her and the children. And if you're not going to allow her to have their Social Security number so she can put it in an account, she is going to buy U.S. bonds for the children and the children's names. And my clerk in the back will hold everything until we receive proof that those bonds have been purchased in the children's names. Hold on to them until the children are 18, and then you can give it to them.
Okay.
Because you can't cash them in anyway.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
This case is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It's awesome that somebody would want to take that opportunity to do that to help somebody.
I'm happy. They'll have their bonds and everything will be taken care of.
But when they don't use the fundraiser for what it said, I feel they're cheating the people that did it.
You know, the date, the timing of this was really super important. This tragedy occurred, and within 3 or 4 days, this event was put together. And it was put together, I'm sure, out of adrenaline. What can we do? And the flyer said it was for the benefit of her deceased daughter, which, of course, there can't be any benefit to the deceased daughter. The benefit has to be to the deceased daughter's memory through giving the kids an extra couple of bucks. And you're talking about really $550 or $600 for each of the 3 children. But at the point that $600 will be important. So they'll have a bond, it'll mature into, I don't know, $800 in 5 years. Not the, you keep posting stuff about her.
She was going to expose nude photos of me. This is her saying that she wanted to fight me.
Leave her alone.
Okay, so
This is not a so. This.
he is currently incarcerated, Your Honor,
Where?
in a state correctional institution in Florida.
When did he go into jail?
He was arrested in September of 2022.
Has he been incarcerated since?
Yes, ma'am.
You have 3 children with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
20.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your children?
I actually have 4 in total. I have a 5-year-old who turns 6 in December. I have a 3-year-old who turns 4 in August, a 2-year-old who turns 3 in August, and a newborn, 2 weeks old, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself.
The only connection that you have with the plaintiff is that you have one child with her husband,
Yes.
who is how old?
He's about to be 5 in the end of July.
Now, this is your complaint. Many of these things at least start in 2022, and it is your claim that Miss Bigelow, who has one child with your husband, embarked on a course of conduct that can clearly be described as harassment, defamation, which you're going to present to me, and the allegations were serious enough, and this is back in 2022, I would assume, that you filed an application for a protective order.
It was in 2021 that I had filed the protective order.
What month?
It was, I believe, March.
Did you have a trial on that protective order?
There was no trial. There was enough evidence presented.
No. There was no trial.
No, ma'am.
Were you present when the protective order was granted?
Yes, ma'am.
And you consented to it?
Yes.
Okay. So you consented to the plaintiff having a protective order indicating that for 12 months, and hopefully for the rest of your life, you would not assault, menace, threaten, or harass her.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And according to what I've read, that was in effect until March of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
While the protective order was in effect, there was a violation of that protective order.
Correct, Your Honor.
What month?
It was in the month of March 15th.
Of 2022 or 2021?
2021, Your Honor.
Was there a hearing on the violation of the protective order?
Yes, there was, and I believe at that time, probation temporarily was given to Miss Bigelow.
Is that correct, Ms. Bigelow?
Yes, ma'am. Administrative probation.
And all of the events that are the subject of your petition happened between 2021 and 2022.
This has actually been going on far longer than that, and
Have any of the acts that Ms. Bigelow were prevented from doing as a result of the protective order occurred after the protective order expired in March of 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I can provide evidence.
That's what I want to see. So now we have Ms. Bigelow, who is on notice. She consented to a protective order because she knew that the evidence would be clear that you were entitled to it. Otherwise, nobody consents to it. So she consented to that order, which means you either assaulted, menaced, threatened, or harassed her. I assume it was a course of harassment. Then you violated that order and you got a period of probation. Okay. Now I'm hearing evidence of acts that occurred after the protective order. I'm just hearing it. After the protective order expired in March of 2022.
Yes.
Correct? You want to tell me when the first incident was?
The first incident was when we had me and my husband on TikTok. There's an algorithm that shows random videos, and she popped up on his For You page, and it was a post about her mother. And so she was living with her mother at the time, and he sent it to her mother.
Your husband did?
Yes.
I only want to know things that had to do with you.
Okay. So I was arrested after my husband got arrested. They tried to charge me.
Just a second. You were arrested in what month?
It was in October, ma'am.
Of what year?
2022.
You were arrested for what?
They tried to claim that I was trafficking drugs.
That's what your husband is in jail for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what did that have to do with her?
It doesn't.
Then it doesn't? It doesn't.
She had made posts about me going to jail.
Can I see them?
Yes, ma'am.
This doesn't say anything that is defamatory. I want to know what you meant is she's already lost custody of her children enough times. I'm hoping one day I might be able to gain custody of my son's two daughters. What is that?
Okay, so Haley Chapman claimed that she had no understanding of the drugs being in the home when she was found guilty.
What is my son's two daughters? Do you mean your boyfriend's?
No, her children. She religiously lost custody of her children.
No. I understand that. I don't understand this sentence. You wrote, she has already lost custody of her children enough times. I am hoping one day I might be able to gain custody of my son's two daughters.
Oh, sorry, not daughters, but sisters. I apologize.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Your Honor, I actually...
Just a second. So far, it's not defamatory.
I have my order for reunification. I've only lost my children one time.
Doesn't matter. Put a look at it. So far, I don't see anything defamatory. If she wrote that you were arrested and you were arrested, that's not defamatory.
I did suffer anxiety and depression because of this whole situation.
No, you suffer from anxiety, depression if you do because you were 15 years old when you had a baby and then you had 4 more children, you're 20 years old and your husband's in jail. That would put any normal person in a situation of depression. Still breaking, Betty. There's something wrong with you. You understand that.
Yes.
You understand that this is all coming from a very stupid place, a very stupid brain that you have absolutely nothing to do with except that you were mad at this guy, at this prize that's sitting in jail for drugs. And so, yeah, don't tell me that you were trying to be altruistic. I don't believe it.
No, that's not it. Actually, her husband assaulted me. I was a child and he was an adult for a year and a half of my childhood. My son is a product of rape.
You don't get me. That has nothing to do with her.
She has shown up at my house.
Just a second. That has...
Okay.
Okay, so she sent a picture of your mugshot, which is also not illegal, and said that you were arrested and charged with trafficking in fentanyl, which you were, right? Which you were. Those charges were subsequently dismissed?
No, ma'am. I was granted pretrial diversion because they didn't have the evidence that they needed to actually...
That's not what I asked you. You were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
And you were arrested for drugs.
Correct.
So she didn't print anything that wasn't true. You were arrested. I'm not saying that what you did was right. I'm saying what you did was stupid, pointless, and just out of nothing but jealousy. Nothing. She certainly doesn't care about your children. Okay. So far, what you showed me, nasty, but not actionable because it's true. What's next?
I have the TikTok that she posted of her claim that she was sexually assaulted by my husband, which backfired on me as well. I had to shut down.
That's what she says. That has nothing to do with you.
Well, an onslaught of people came and harassed me because of her post.
I don't know that at all. And if they harassed you, that's their problem. But I'll take a look at what you want me to look at. But if she accused your husband of a crime of raping her, and she said it's your bad judgment to be with him, and now I assume you have 4 children with him?
3, Your Honor.
3, and 1 with somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Sounds terrific. 20 years old. Sounds like we're going in the right direction here for a joyous life. Oh. What do you do for a living?
Bartender.
How many children do you have?
1.
Who do you live with?
Myself, but I'm currently moving.
Moving where?
South Carolina.
With whom?
My son and I.
Why?
To leave Florida.
Why? Why South Carolina? You just
I want to go to college for underwater welding, and they don't offer that program where I live currently.
Who are you going with?
Just by myself.
Who lives in South Carolina?
Nobody.
Do you have a place to live?
Yes.
Who's paying for it?
Me.
From what?
My job. I've been saving over the last 2 years.
How much money do you have in the bank?
I have $180,000.
Oh. Okay. All nasty, stupid. It's not actionable. What else?
I have here that she told me to hurt myself and that she was going to expose nude photos of me.
I'd like to see that.
I also have here her saying that she wanted to throw bed bugs in my yard and on me.
This is all stupid stuff, but nasty and stupid and vicious. And I must add, illiterate. So I hope you're going to a very good school, wherever you're going. First, they should teach you literacy. What's next?
I did suffer chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression because of this whole situation.
No, you suffer from anxiety, depression if you do, because you were 15 years old when you had a baby, and then you had 4 more children, you're 20 years old, and your husband's in jail. That would put any normal person in a situation of depression.
I do have proof, Your Honor.
You don't have proof.
It's from my psychiatrist.
If your psychiatrist was here and you wish to waive it, I'll be more than happy to listen to your psychiatrist. It's what you told your psychiatrist. I'm telling you, I don't have to be a psychiatrist. Somebody who's 20 years old and has 4 children, all under the age of 5, and whose husband is incarcerated for the last year and a half, and has 1 child in between that's not his, that's a reason to be depressed. There's a reason to be depressed. her nagging you because she's stupid and jealous is nasty, but not anywhere as nasty as your husband getting arrested, going to jail, leaving his 3 children and his wife alone to fend for themselves. And if he was incarcerated for drugs, making them, dealing with them, and you were living together, it's kind of hard for me to imagine that you wouldn't have some suspicion of what he was doing for a living. Do you understand what I mean? That would cause me situational depression. And there is only one way to deal with your situational depression, which is to get your life in order.
Currently, I am a nursing student and I have a year left.
Is it a building that you go to?
Yes, ma'am. I restart in September of this year.
You start or you started last year?
I started and then I took a break and then I go back in September.
When did you take a break?
From August of last year up until September, this upcoming September.
And now you're going back in September?
Yes.
And what have you been doing in between, aside having a baby?
In between then, I've just been working. I have 2 jobs.
Where are your children?
My children are actually with my friend at the hotel.
All 4 of them?
2 of them, Your Honor.
Where are the rest of them?
One is staying with my mother-in-law, and my son is in summer camp.
Which one is with your mother-in-law?
One of my daughters that I have with my husband.
And how old is the child who's in summer camp?
He's 5.
Is he in sleepaway summer camp?
No.
Well, who does he live with?
He lives with me.
Who's taking care of him now?
Right now, his grandpa.
His grandfather?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your father?
It is my son's dad's father.
Distress.
All right, you have anything else you want to show me so far? This is a bunch of nonsense. It's not
Yes,
nonsense,
ma'am.
it's just very unfortunate.
This is her saying that she wanted to fight me.
I don't care about wanting to fight you. You didn't fight with her, right?
No.
And she didn't come to fight you, and she didn't hit you, right? All right, we're done. Let's see, money owed for emotional distress caused by leaking photos. All right.
Haley Chapman posted child pornography of me via Facebook.
When?
September of 2018. Also, her and her husband were under investigation for extortion of child pornography, threatening that if I did not fight them, they would release the video of him sexually assaulting me while I was pregnant.
I would like to see where she, not he, where she sent you something that you consider harassment.
Okay, she has shown up to my house on...
No, she, listen to me carefully, she sent you an extortion letter. I want to see where she did, not her husband.
The police took the iPod with the original conversation because it involved child pornography.
If I don't have it, I don't have it.
Okay, that's understandable.
Do you have it? The answer is yes or no.
No, not the original conversation.
Ms. Chapman, I told you my best long and short-term advice to you. You are articulate, nice looking, young, whole life ahead of you. It depends upon where you want to hang your hopes. And if you hang it with somebody who's incarcerated, that's ridiculous. He's not coming out to you anyway. You have a new father for your baby. Do you live with that person? Do you live with that person? Who do you live with?
I live alone.
Oh, God.
I also have the times that she made fictitious DCF calls against me and messages of her admitting that she called DCF on me because I wouldn't fight her.
Because you wouldn't fight her?
Yes.
I would like to actually take a look at those. Not that you're going to get a penny from her. You understand that?
Yep.
You understand why?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And by the way, you know, I understand that you say that there was an abusive sexual relationship between you and her husband, who is the father of your child.
Yes, ma'am.
You did, in fact, allow him to see the child regularly. Is
No,
that
ma'am.
no?
No.
You mean he's never seen his
Never.
son?
Actually, no, incorrect. When my son was first born, he was 6 hours late. He came in, he said hello, and other than that, he was not permitted to be around the child.
So he never came to your house and never saw him from the time the child was born until the time he went into jail. Is that correct?
The only time that he did see my son was when she came to my house in June of 2022 when he was parked outside the house and my son had come outside. Other than that, he has not been around my child.
Yeah, well, you're Haley on this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. She's angry at you, right? she's angry at you because you won't stop. You keep posting stuff about her, about her husband, about the kids, whatever. It's all because...
There were multiple reasons as to why I was upset with her. There were on 3 different occasions when the restraining order was put in place, claiming that I violated when I did not. I was only
Just a second.
Okay.
There was a final order of protection and a finding that you violated that final order of protection, and all this stuff was harassing, nasty, unfortunately not defamatory, but clearly annoying. And she finally said, I've had enough. You have no case. You have no case, and you're just lucky I'm not awarding her any money because nothing that you posted about her was not true. She was, in fact, arrested. I assume that you are, in fact, a minor when you became pregnant and the father of your child was an adult. I assume all those things are true. Listen to me. If you saved $180,000, which is a lot of money to be able to save over a couple of years bartending, which is to your credit. And if what you're going to do is try to start a new life, good for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good for you. Put your time to better use. Leave her alone. She's got enough troubles just negotiating life at age 20 with 4 children. Leave her alone.
Okay, so...
This is not a so. This is a period. The end. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
I believe that she gave me some really good life advice and was able to hopefully open the defendant's eyes as to the problems that she's been causing.
She threatened me, threatened my friends, made fictitious DCF reports against me.
Things just mellow out and she decides not to...
Time to get out of Florida.
...defame me or harass me anymore.
That case reminded me of my family court days, Sarah. Here's this guy who was an adult. She was 15 when her first child was born, 14 when she got pregnant. And I don't understand why that guy's not in jail.
For something other than drugs.
For something other than drugs. Except she probably...
He married her and then had 3 more children.
I'm not sure when he married her, but in between there, in the beginning, he had a child with the defendant. And I think that the plaintiff and defendant sort of knew each other. But there are now 5 children, all with mothers, single mothers, who are unsettled. And there's no question one's living with a grandparent, one's staying here, one back with a friend in a hotel room. It's just so sad for these children. I don't know how to convince generations of young people that you're not supposed to have children, that you're not emotionally and financially and equipped to take care of. Just do that.
And it makes every step of her getting her life back on track at 20 as a child herself all the more difficult with 4 kids in tow. So not only, how sad it is for the children, but she's a child herself that should be able to get her life back on track.
It would be wonderful. She, both seem to be articulate people. Of course, they can't write, but maybe it's just the way they write when they write text.
Twitter fingers,
Yeah, Twitter, but it looks illiterate to me. Maybe I'm just from the wrong generation. That's possible. But it's just sad for those 5 kids. She sent the video to your employer.
5, Perez versus Boeing.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Interesting. Miss Perez, you met Mr. Bowen at a truck stop. Tell me when that was and how that happened.
In January, and we both worked there.
January of this year, 2020.
Of last year.
2022.
Yes.
And you began dating, and you at some point moved into his home?
I was staying there helping with his kids.
You were staying there?
Yes, I still had my own home.
So you were staying there. Were you there 5 days a week, 7 days a week?
The whole 2 months.
Okay, so you were living there for 2 months. Who was living in your house?
Nobody.
I assume you weren't just staying there to take care of his kids, that the 2 of you were a couple during that 2-month period. This is what your case is about. During that period of time, Mr. Bowen had physical custody full-time of his children. 2 children?
Correct, Your Honor.
And how long had you had custody of them?
I've had custody of them since 2020.
So since they were infants?
Pretty much, yes.
Did you then have court-ordered legal custody?
Yes, ma'am.
There came a time while you were living together, according to the complaint that I read, that the mother came back into the picture and was seeking custody of the children.
Correct.
And Mr. Bowen needed an attorney.
Yes.
It is your claim that you loaned him $2,000 for an attorney.
Yes.
Things didn't work out between the 2 of you, and you left, and it was an unpleasant parting. was not an amicable parting. That be a fair statement?
Fair.
Fair statement?
For a while, we remained friends after that too, though.
Well, his counterclaim is going to challenge that.
Right.
Anyway, you want your $2,000 back.
Yes.
I don't know what Mr. Bowen says about the $2,000. Maybe that you gave it to him as a gift. He's going to tell me, but he's got a counterclaim. His counterclaim is that you got so angry with him that in a thoroughly vindictive way, you sent a video to his place of employment, which caused him to be fired.
Correct.
And that in addition, you aligned yourself with the mother of his children who was seeking custody of the children.
Two mothers.
Two mothers. They're two.
Yes, two different mothers. Yeah.
You've been busy.
Yeah.
You aligned yourself with those people and created serious difficulty for him by sharing not only the video with them, but also some photographs of him with a BB gun.
Correct, ma'am.
Do you still have custody of the children?
She filed an ex parte order, which plaintiff had help in, and I lost the kids in January, and then I got them back in February, and then we just finally got through the court paperwork to where I have them full-time again. The judge still has to finalize them.
So what you're telling me is that in January on an ex parte application, ex parte, that means just the mothers went in themselves, some judge transferred custody without a hearing?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And they originally set it out for 8 months to where I would even be seen.
It used to get me so frustrated, but
it was a tough time.
It was a tough time. Actually outrageous.
Yeah.
And then the children came back to you.
Yeah, actually in February 12th, the mother kind of, I can't do this by myself. And she brought them back, and then I've had them since then the whole time. And we just did last week finalize the paperwork, so we're just waiting.
All right, let's deal with this $2,000 legal fee. Mr. Bowen, did Ms. Perez give you $2,000?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay, tell me the circumstances surrounding her giving you $2,000.
Okay, so in June, one of the mothers of my children wanted to take the custody of the kids back.
Not both children, one.
Well, this was one, and then I have another kid. They got involved, and she did an ex parte order using the exact same paperwork, word for word, everything was the same. Pretty much copy and pasted one to the other.
You're going into too much information for me. I like this all linear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, June 2022.
We were looking for an attorney. She actually was going to give me $7,000 for an attorney that her mother had used, but I was like, that's way too much, so let's try to find something cheaper, and that's where we found somebody.
Well, this is a we. This is really your problem.
Right.
This is really your problem. I want to know how she got involved with giving you money.
I'll give you the money, no problem. Here, do you want $7,000 for this lawyer in Bakersfield that my mother used, who I know is a rock star? And I said, no, let's find something else, a little bit localer. And I found the one in Lancaster for $3,500.
And did you go to the attorney in Lancaster?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go with her or alone?
I went by myself.
Did you ask her if she wanted to go with you?
No.
Okay, so you went by yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you went to the lawyer, you got a fee, you were quoted a fee?
Yes, $3,500.
When you were at the office, that would be in June.
Yes.
And when you got that quote and you liked that lawyer,
yes,
then I assume you went home to where Ms. Perez was taking care of your children.
Yes, ma'am.
Which she was doing, by the way.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
You weren't paying her anything.
No, not at all.
And she was still paying for her own house, where she maintained another resident.
Yes. She was there because her children went to another state for the summer. So she just stayed with me while the kids were gone for summer.
She stayed with you for a reason. She didn't stay with you. I assume you don't live at a lake.
No.
Well, you don't live at the beach, right?
I wish, but no.
No, but you don't live at the beach. So now you've got a lawyer's quote for $3,500. You go home to Ms. Perez and you say, dear, I like this lawyer. He only charges $3,500. Is that something like the conversation?
Something like that, yes.
Something like that. Now I want to hear where the $2,000 came from. I want you to think and focus. Look at me, and that requires I owed her 4 lamb chops she bought. I owed her for a plumber she paid for. Or I owed her for a
lawyer fee.
Perfect!
And slander.
Now I want to hear where the $2,000 came from.
I had...
No. I said, dear, I like this lawyer. He's only $3,500.
She says, here's $2,000 and I have $1,500, and we made it happen.
Okay, here's $2,000.
Yep, yes.
And you said, I have $1,500.
Correct.
Well, you must have said, I have $1,500 first.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
You must have said his fee is $3,500. I have $1,500 because otherwise she wouldn't have known to say he is $2,000.
Correct,
Right?
Your Honor.
So let's try to get it right.
Yes, Your Honor.
You went home and you said, dear.
I have $1,500. The lawyer's $2,000. And we need to make it happen. I need to make it happen.
Were those your words? I need to make it happen? No. I want you to think about it. Don't pull information out of an orifice. Just, if you don't remember, say, I don't remember exactly what I said.
I don't remember exactly what was said.
Okay, you don't remember.
Correct.
Do you remember exactly how it happened? Voila. Love it. Okie dokie. Go.
He needed $3,500 and I would only give him $2,000 because I didn't have any more.
I want to hear the conversation.
Okay, he said it was $35. I said that I could.
No, he came home from the lawyer.
Came home.
And you must have said what happened or I want to
He
hear the
actually had
conversation.
talked to them on the phone and they quoted him that price.
Okay.
He needed the money to go over there. So.
Oh, that's a different story.
Yes.
You see, she remembers. Perfect. So he spoke to the lawyer on the phone.
Yes.
Tell me.
He said that it was $3,500. All I was able to help with, I was off work at the time, so I used my savings. I said I could help him.
I know that you gave him the $2,000. I want to hear how it came about.
I told him that I would need help when my bills came due, that I would help him with the money, but I was not working, that he would have to help me with my bills, and he agreed to that, so I wired the money bank to bank.
To the lawyer's bank or to his
No, to Mr. Bowen's account, because we have the same bank.
What was said exactly was, you'll have to help me out with my bills when they come.
Yes.
And?
He agreed to that.
Okay.
I wired the money, he went, he took care of everything, and then my bills started to become due. He said he didn't have any money.
Bills? Like what bills?
My mortgage, my electric, my gas.
Okay, and you were still living together?
I was still staying in there, yes.
Yes. In what month? July?
Till the end of June.
Well, when did this transaction take place?
June 6th.
So just a couple of weeks later?
Yes.
Well, where did you expect him to get you $2,000 from?
He was supposed to, as he got.
Well, right now you don't have a contract for him. It wasn't a loan. Right now what I'm hearing, which is why I asked for the exact terminology, is saying to him, you'll have to help me out with my bills when they come in, is not a loan.
I also have a bunch of text messages asking and him saying right now, I know I owe you money.
Then I'd like to see
Yes.
those. These machines can either be a curse or a godsend. Okay, yeah, it doesn't change my position that there has to be a clear contract if there's a loan. I'm borrowing this money, I will pay you back this amount of money, and according to what you told me, he acknowledges, yeah, I'll give you some money when I have it. That's as vague as, you have to help me out with my bills when they start to come in. And he says, sure, I'll help you out. Okay. Now I'm going to come to you, Mr. Bowen.
Yes, ma'am.
It seems from reading these text messages that you acknowledge that you owe her money.
Yes, ma'am.
You acknowledge that in these text messages.
Okay.
Because you don't say, I don't owe you anything. You say, I have a big bill coming in. You know, I'm sorry. I'll try to get some to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you acknowledge that you owe her money.
Yeah, I guess yes, Your Honor.
Yes, well, that's what this says. It's not specific, but you acknowledge you owe her money. What do you owe her money for?
Well, I guess.
Not a well. Not a well. A well is not an answer.
All right.
What did you owe her money for? Don't look at the sky. I want you to think and focus. Look at me, and that requires I owed her for lamb chops she bought. I owed her for a plumber she paid for, or I owed her for a
Lawyer fee.
Perfect. Perfect. And the lawyer fee was how much?
$2,000.
Perfect. And how much of that $2,000 did you give her back?
I've maybe given her $100.
Just a second. Did he give you any money back?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it does indicate that he did, in fact, give you some money back.
Yes.
How much did he give you back?
About what he says, $100.
Okay, so you still owe her $1,900. There you go. How great. So even though you didn't have a perfect contract?
I know for the future.
Right. Now we have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
And the counterclaim is that you were very annoyed with him, which is very ridiculous, Ms. Perez. I understand from reading your papers, and I'm trying to read between the lines, and you develop a certain amount of wisdom when you get older. He had you at the house for 2 months. Your kids were away for the summer. He has these 2 little kids, right? And he was using you as a babysitter.
Yes.
And you felt used.
I know, I got very attached to him.
To whom?
To
the children or him?
The kids.
So according to your answer and your counterclaim, Mr. Bowen, you were involved in an altercation at work.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you work?
I worked at Love's.
What is that?
It's a truck stop, and it just services pretty much the big rigs on the road.
Okay. And an incident occurred while you were working.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the date of the incident? Because I'm going to see the video.
September 18th.
Of
2022.
Tell me what happened.
I'm a cashier, and after doing it for so long, just so you pick things up, you see people coming in and you know they're up to no good. I have my eyes on this one character, and sure enough, he grabs like a $400 party speaker and a bunch of other little electronic stuffs, and he's walking out the store, and I'm trying to get my co-workers' attention who were sitting there talking like, hey, stop him, he's stealing. And then nobody pays attention, and he walks outside, and that's kind of where it started. Is I said, hey, give that stuff back, and I swatted the speaker out of his hand, and that's when he came at me and he attacked me, and I was defending myself. He had a knife, once you go and you'll see it, he had like an 8-inch knife.
Now what I need is from you proof that she sent that video, and
Stephanie got him fired after sharing a fight video with his job.
Okay, so you were working and trying to prevent a thief from leaving the area with property that you were responsible for.
Correct.
Okay, well that sounds perfectly reasonable unless you're living in some ridiculous community that says, oh, you got to let everybody steal. And we don't stop shoplifters because, that's not the American way. Okay, so you were protecting property that was your responsibility because you were at the store.
Correct.
How long had you been working at the store?
I worked the store up until I got let go for 1.5 years.
Okay, now I'm going to see the video.
Okay, and just for context, it starts after I swatted the big old box out of his hand.
Is this the video that you allege that the plaintiff sent to your employer and to the mother of your children?
2 of them, yes, ma'am.
To 2 of the mothers of your children in order to assist them in their
ex parte orders, yes.
In their ex parte application.
Yes.
I have evidence on that too. That he asked the baby mom to lie in court today, and that's why she wouldn't come.
I have to tell you something.
Okay.
I don't understand why you would get involved in that anyway.
I didn't.
Okay, so you never sent this video.
He sent me the video, but I did not send it to corporate.
You didn't send it to anybody is my question. You didn't send it to...
He sent it to tons of people.
I'm asking you whether you ever sent it to his place of business.
No.
Did you ever send it to either of the people who were the mother of his children?
No, I only know one of them.
And you didn't send it?
No.
Okay, so I'll look at the video, then you'll tell me what proof you have that she sent it. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, take a look.
Back up.
Was that you?
My adrenaline was pumping, Your Honor. I apologize.
What were you yelling at?
The camera, just at the camera, yeah.
Why were you yelling at the camera?
I turned around and seen it. I didn't even know that the guy was recording it.
Which guy?
There's a random trucker. It's a random trucker.
Who was recording it for what reason? I don't know. You don't know.
I don't know. He just...
Well, how did you get the recording?
He sent it to one of the guys that used to work there as well, and then I got it from him.
You sent it to one of the guys that used to work
there? Yeah, that's the video. I'm not going to say his name, but he's in the video right there.
Okay. So one of your co-workers.
Yes, ma'am.
And this guy, who was there, the thief,
Yes.
was clearly high on something.
Yes. And then like if you back it up, you can.
Okay.
There's a smidgen where you see the
I
knife.
get the picture. Please, I get the picture. Now, what I need is from you proof that she sent that video for whatever reason to your employer, and I need proof that the reason you were fired from your job was because of that video. Because me, I would give you a gold star and make you Employee of the Month. I would, if I owned the truck stop. So you understand what you have to prove to me?
Yes.
That she sent the video to your employer, and your employer fired you because of the video.
Okay, so my proof on both, my witness was supposed to be here.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah,
I was
right.
supposed to be 5'8", but I had a short
Right,
arm.
right, I understand that. But the witness that came with me, she bailed just like on everything else, so I don't have any proof of it. It was
So just
her.
a sec. So the answer is you don't have any proof
Correct.
of that. Okay, well that's easy. And what proof do you have that she sent that clip of a video or gave it to one of the mothers of your children
Yes.
in order to assist them in their custody dispute, which is not illegal, but would be nasty?
I don't.
So you don't?
Don't, yeah.
Well, your counterclaim then is dismissed. You understand that?
Yeah.
And you owe her $1,900.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It was a gift while we were together, but as soon as we broke up, it was, oh, now I need my money.
I've asked him for my money and he refused to give me it.
If you got the right person to make the team, it's good. But if you don't, and it's not a solid connection, it's not worth it.
I'm a single mom. I don't have money just to hand out like that.
Documents, get proof of everything. That's all I can say.
So it's a new phenomenon, this sort of phones first approach to everything.
Oh, you mean
Phones eat first, phones watch the fight first, phones catch everything first. I think how the defendant put it, a random trucker just saw a fight break out, and first instinct is just catch your phone out and take a video. And we've seen it in New York City on the subways. We see too many times people taking video and no one is helping do anything. So I felt bad for the defendant. As you said, you would have given him a gold star for what he did if you owned the truck stop. Opinions differ on that.
Sarah, I'm still confused. If the owner of a business says, I don't want you to confront thieves because I don't want you to put your life at risk, and that's the reason. But if they're saying, I don't want you to confront thieves because I'm afraid that they're going to be picketing outside my stores because we confronted a thief and stopped a thief, that's a whole different thing. And I'm still not able to follow that mindset. I read something this week that in a very famous, huge chain, 2 employees followed the rules. They did not try to stop the thief who was walking out with hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise, but called the police. And the police stopped them, got them, and the 2 employees were fired. I used to say, when I worked in family court, that the first time a kid gets arrested, there has to be a consequence. You don't imprison a kid for 5 years if they've stolen a bicycle. But there has to be some consequence, just as you do with your own children. You tell them to come in at 10, they come in at 11:30, there has to be a consequence. If you don't, they think as parents, you're full of baloney and there are no rules. Well, that's what's happening here when you think it's okay to go into a store and steal with impunity. I don't understand that. I feel as if I'm living in some alternative universe. Okay, got it out of my system. Thank you.
Of course.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.com.
Ý là đây là cách làm thu của